Hello, everybody. This is Purge bringing you guys a first-person replay commentary. I'm going to be doing Arc Warden today. He is a new hero. I actually like him a lot. I think he's pretty fun to play, but at the moment I feel like he's a little overpowered. Is kind of how I feel about him. So let's hop into the Dota buff section to talk about his stats and items. Now, there isn't that much data here because obviously he's only been in the game for like 2 days, so take this with a grain of salt. A lot of these stats that we're going to look at are pretty irrelevant, but I think it's a decent representation of how he is at the moment. So, first things first with the hero. He's got generally bad stats, 1.9 strength, 1.8 agility, 2.1 int, and he is an agility hero, so he gets most of his damage from agility items. But agility items don't really synergize very well with the hero, active items do. So this is one nerf to him, basically, is that if he's an int hero, you'd buy a lot of int items, your damage would go up. But because he's agility, it doesn't really happen. His movement speed is okay, 295, his base damage is pretty bad, his attack point is good. And his armor is awful at 0.1, so he basically has 0 armor. So, some things about the hero. His win rate right now is really bad, 36%, and that's just because the hero is difficult to micro, and he's difficult to itemize, and he's a little bit difficult to play. The reason that he's difficult to micro is the way that his ultimate works. His base skills, they do stuff, but they're kind of irrelevant for the scope of the hero. The thing that makes Arc Warden really overpowered in some ways is his ultimate Tempest double. So, every 65 to 55 seconds you get to use this. It costs you health and mana depending on what level it is. But what it does is it spawns a perfect copy of your hero. Your illusion, essentially your secondary hero, I'll just call it the secondary hero because it's not really an illusion. Your secondary hero can break smokes, it can use your items that you have purchased, it can use all new skills, and as you activate it, all of its abilities are off cooldown. So this is most overpowered with the item Hand of Midas. Because rather than using the Midas every 100 seconds, you can use it every 100 seconds on your hero, and every time your ultimate is up, your Tempest double can use Hand of Midas. So technically you get a Midas on a 100 second cooldown, and you can hypothetically have a second Midas on a between 55 and 65 second cooldown is usually where you get a second Midas. So in the early game, you're mostly going to be spawning your Tempest double so that you can use a Midas and farm faster. Keep in mind that when Midas is used by your secondary hero, the experience of that goes to your secondary hero, which does nothing for you, right? So really, the second Midas only accelerates your gold gain, not your experience gain. The experience of your main hero only comes from the primary Hand of Midas, so keep that in mind. Hand of Midas is 100% core in this hero. It has to be purchased. There is no better item to have on Arc Warden than Hand of Midas in the early game. You can maybe argue that you can buy a different item to get kills and stuff like that. Maybe as a support you shouldn't buy it, but if you're having an awful game or something, but the Hand of Midas is just too value on the hero, I feel. So what you do is you get a fast Hand of Midas, you start accelerating your farm in some of your levels, and then you eventually the next item you always should buy is a Necro 3. And the reason you buy Necro 3 is because then you put your Necro 3 cooldown down to 55 to 65 seconds. Every time you use your ultimate, you basically get a free Necro 3. And you get your other basic skills, and you get a Midas. So by having a Midas and a Necro 3, it allows you to farm stupidly rapidly. And it's important to have the Necro because your hero actually doesn't have very good farming capabilities, with the exception of the Midas. The way that your basic skills work, Flux, pretty good skill, 900 unit cast range. It applies a debuff on somebody, and for 6 seconds, they take 60 damage per second. And they get slowed by 50%, a huge slow. But this only works if they're not standing near any allied units. If they're standing next to a creep wave, if they're standing next to a hero, they do not get slowed and they do not take the damage. So Flux is situationally useful. It's a super long cooldown at 20 seconds. One of the things to balance the hero. Your second skill is called Magnetic Field. You cast it on the ground, and it puts an AoE there. And for a duration of 3.5 to 5 seconds, it makes all heroes in that AoE 100% evasive. Only heroes and buildings. It doesn't work on creeps. So you can't cast this on your Necro 3. Something I learned in my second game that I played. I thought it was for all things on your team, just heroes and buildings. And it also increases their attack speed by 80 at level 4 and 50 at level 1. This is mostly useful if your opponents have a physical damaging core and they initiate on somebody, because if they're stunned, you put the evasion on them. That's usually where I use this ability. I have trouble using it though. I don't quite have the hotkey ingrained in my brain yet. I had similar problems when I would originally play Skywrath Mage, but now I know those abilities by heart, so I can cast it easily. But as I play more and more Arc Warden, I'll get used to that, and I'll probably start using Magnetic Field better. Your third skill is kind of like a Techie's Mine in a way. You put down a Spark Wraith on a position, it takes 3 seconds to activate, and then it becomes like a mine, basically. If anything comes between in that 375 radius, then it will fly and hit them. and do up to 300 magic damage. It's a 4-second cooldown, so late game you'll cast these a lot. It provides vision, which is really nice. But the duration, but it could hit creeps, for example, and it doesn't do AoE damage. It just hits a single target. So basically, between your two damaging skills, neither of them is AoE, which is why the Midas is so important, because you just can't get farm on this hero otherwise. You have to get Midas, in my opinion, otherwise it's not valuable. Not valuable to play this hero. Now, you can double cast Flux if you use your Tempest double, and you cast Flux using both of your Arc Wardens. Those damages and slows do stack, I believe. I've seen both of the icons go on a hero. But the other cool thing is that as you cast a Tempest double, you can just start spamming Spark Wraiths all around where your team might fight. That way, if your opponents initiate into you, they'll run into a lot of magic nukes to start off the battle. So Spark Wraith is pretty good, but it's very difficult to micro everything correctly. When you're basically using Tempest double, you're Midasing a creep, and you're spawning your Necro, and then you're right-clicking those all on your opponents, and then you're trying to use Flux on the right person, and you're trying to cast Spark Wraith every 4 seconds, and all this shit's moving across the map, and you put down magnetic field if somebody's dying to try to keep them alive. It just gets really, really complicated and confusing, and that is the reason why Arc Warden's win rate is so low right now. It's because the hero is difficult to play, and the hero has a very high skill cap, and he takes a lot of micro. So the most important thing about Arc Warden in terms of micro, in my opinion, is that you need to hotkey your secondary hero on a specific hotkey, that way you can control it. And you need to have a hotkey that selects all other units. Now, because the second hero counts as a hero, it doesn't count as all other units. All other units are Manta Illusions, Necro Summons, things like that. But you need that hotkey, otherwise it gets way too hard to play Arc Warden. It doesn't work well enough, in my opinion, just to put... I mean, you can put technically your Necros on one hotkey, and that kind of works, but the select all other units button is fairly helpful if you do sometimes buy a Manta style. Now, Manta kind of works because you're an agility hero, but the only time I buy Manta is to deal with silence. I think against Silencer, for example, Manta is very good. And I've seen a lot of Silencers due to his buff. So I did get Manta in my first game. I don't think I got him in my second game here. So other common items, like I said, Manta style Boots of Travel is amazing because you can spawn your Tempest, and then the Tempest can teleport to a lane, spawn a Necro split push, or if somebody's getting ganked, you can BOTs to your ally if you get the secondary Boots of Travel upgrade. BOT to your ally with your illusion to fight, or BOT with your main hero to fight. There's a lot of cool things you can do like that. Dagon 5 is also an item you can get, because if you get a Dagon 5, you have a Dagon on both of your Arc Wardens, but personally, I feel like this is the wrong way to play the hero, but the hero has a lot of different ways that you can build him. Like, this hero is basically a mix of Meepo and Tinker, is the best way to describe him. He is exactly a mix of those two heroes. There is ridiculous amounts of stuff that you can do at all points in time. You should be busy with playing your hero until the end of the game, similar to playing Tinker, but there's also a massive amount of micromanagement that you should be doing as if you're playing Meepo. His damage potential is very high, though, and it's very good like that. So other items that are very good, I like Blink Dagger. I think Blink Dagger is core at some stage because it allows you to initiate with your secondary guy a little bit more. One thing that this hero is lacking is Disable. You have some slow here, but it's not very reliable, so I really like getting Hex on Arc Warden. It doesn't give me much damage because obviously it only gives you like 10 int, or 10 agi, sorry, but... Oh, I still have another cool item. Lincolns might be really cool, actually, because you could put a Lincolns on an ally using your main hero and then spawn your Tempest double and put Lincolns on him again. There's so many items you could buy. You could buy literally every item in the game works because it's a hero, you know? Like, it only lasts for 20 seconds. Maybe there's some items that aren't ideal, like a Radiance, for example, but almost every item works. You can go damage builds, you can go utility builds, you can go push builds, you can do split push builds. I don't personally like going all in on split push. I think the only split push item you should buy is the Necro 3. Personally, and a Blink Dagger, which kind of counts as a split push item. But Necro 3 is your limit for split push. You need to get a Necro because it gives you True Sight constantly. It hard counters invisible heroes. This is a 10% advantage versus Ricky. That is one of the biggest advantages I've ever seen. And it's because you can spawn a Necro 3 and it lasts for 40 seconds, and then you can spawn another one using your Tempest double. Basically, every time your Tempest doubles up, you can spawn a Necro 3. You almost always have Necro units active. Now, you have to be careful with this. This is where the hero gets hard again. Now you're controlling all of these units and all of these heroes and all of these illusions, but every Necro that dies feeds your opponents 200 gold. And I limited the Necro feed a lot on my second game. On my first game, I fed a lot of Necros, and you have to be careful with that. Some heroes are very good at clearing Necros. In fact, the heroes that are good against Arc Warden, in my opinion, are heroes that can kill Necro 3s, for example. Chen has an advantage here because he can take control of your Necro. I don't know if he can take control of your Illusion. Probably not, but maybe. Morphling, not sure why. I guess the Lone Druid makes sense because he's very tanky and he can just kind of kill tanky things like Necros. But I played against a Timbersaw the first game that I played Arc Warden. I felt like he was very good against Arc Warden because he just kills Necros. And every time he kills a pair of Necros, he gets 400 gold. And that's a big advantage. It's like getting a hero kill, basically. So there's a lot of situations where this hero is good. Apparently he's bad at being pushed. That actually makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of pushing heroes here. If you can't get up to speed on Arc Warden, then he is a bad hero. So the best way to counter him is to gank him heavily up until the point where he has Necro 3. He's very vulnerable in those stages. His strength gain is weak. His HP is not very good. And if you can just lane pressure him or delay his Midas, he becomes a lot weaker. Now, I personally played him as a farm, like a core. I think that's the best way to play him. I'm not 100% set on that. He's pretty good in lane. He's okay due to having Flux. Flux is a very good ability since it does slow offlaners very heavily and does good damage. But if the offlaners understand how Flux works, I feel like they can play around it. Standby creeps and man fight, for example. But with that said, you can maybe play Arc Warden as a 4, but again, the important thing is that you need to get a fast hand on Midas, and sometimes that's difficult to do. You can actually probably roam with this guy pretty easily. I would probably go a 4-1-1 build with your ulti at 6, obviously, because again, you get two skill points, or you get 2 of every one of your abilities, for example. So if you're setting up a gank, you can move in, cast Flux, cast your Tempest double, put 2 Spark Wraiths down wherever he's going to want to run to, cast your second Flux, put a Magnetic Field down if he's going to fight. I haven't tried him as a roaming support yet, but I'm not sure if he's going to be good at that yet. We'll see. I'll maybe try him out like that, but I think this hero should either be played as a 4 or a 1. You could maybe put him in the mid lane as well, but he's a little bit easy to gank, and he also can't push the wave, so I think he's also bad at mid in a 2 position. I would not recommend mid. Maybe you can get away with spamming Spark Wraiths, but I don't think that's very good either. You should probably... I don't know, maybe he'll work as a mid hero, but I think either as a 1 position or a 4. And the reason he works as a 1 position is because you can transition into big items. And you can buy things like Rapier as well. Rapier is a good item because you can spawn your Tempest double, and then your Tempest double has a Rapier, basically. And if it dies, it doesn't matter. It doesn't drop a Rapier. So this guy, for example, his build is very carry-oriented. BKB is also very good, actually, because you can spawn your Tempest double, and your Tempest double can then use a BKB and become magic immune. It's actually really good, and it doesn't lower the cooldown of your BKB. So if you just keep a 10-second BKB on your hero, you can actually just always 10-second BKB teleport in a Tempest double, and then right-click somebody, which is probably where this guy was getting some of his advantage. He would TP on top of a hero. With his Tempest double would be able to right-click with a Divine Rapier, Daedalus, Monkey King Bar for like 4 seconds, and even if it died, it doesn't matter because it would probably kill somebody. So there's so many items you can do on the hero. With that said, let's hop into the game. Oh wait, one more thing. Hero meta statistics, if we take a look at Arc Warden, oops. 38% at the 5k MMR and above, and at low MMR he's at 32%, which is not too surprising. There have already been more Arc Warden games, at least in this time period, than the bottom 4 heroes, I believe. No, I think that's a false statement. So with that said, let's close this out here and hop into the game. Now, disclaimer, I last hit awfully the first 10 minutes of the game, so you're going to have to deal with that, unfortunately. It's going to hurt me more than it hurts you, I promise, guys. Now, the heroes I'm playing against, I think Tiny is okay against Arc Warden because I'm fairly squishy in the early game, so I can be bursted. Invoker is... he's okay. He can drain my mana, I guess, but I don't feel like Arc Warden has that many mana problems in the mid to late game, so that doesn't bother me too much. Earthshaker is maybe okay. Dazzle, I feel like Arc Warden is pretty good against these heroes as a whole.
Lena.
Let's play this game with Freiburg, Blitz, Malk, and I don't know the Rubik. I don't know what his preferred tag is. So, I feel like a Ring of Protection is pretty necessary on this hero because your armor is so bad early, and you do need a little bit of mana regen in the early game, so I like getting a fast Basilius. I also picked up a Enchanted Mango in case I needed that, and a lot of regen items. I'm just going to speed things up a little bit until I get to lane, for example. First skill point almost always goes in Flux, in my opinion. There was one game, you know, you could arguably spam Spark Wraiths on a rune spot if you're really concerned about somebody taking it. That's actually not a bad idea, because Clarity Potions are so good right now, they give you 190 mana. If you got Spark Wraith at level 1, you could actually put like 3 Spark Wraiths, or maybe 4 Spark Wraiths on a bounty rune within like 12 seconds, and that way if they wanted to fight it, they were going to have to take 450 magic damage. That actually sounds really good. I've never thought about that until now, but I think I'm going to start doing that. I would rather start with a Clarity Potion here than an Ironwood Branch for that, because a Clarity gives you 190 mana. That's 2 Spark Wraiths, and that's going to like guarantee that you can get the rune, basically. I was a little bit of a dick here, and I took the bounty rune. Blitz wanted to walk down and grab it, but instead I took it, so I felt a little bad about that one, especially because he was halfway there already. Lina looks semi-dead here. So my goal is basically just farm as much as I can in the safe lane. Oh yeah, I had a really embarrassing death on the first death too. But I definitely didn't play this hero super well in the early game. I played it okay, a bit better. Now keep in mind, I'm not going to be able to show you the full micro potential of what I was doing, unfortunately. My frames are really low. Close all my Chrome tabs. It's actually not helping. Yeah, whatever, it's still about 60 FPS for you guys. If I close this. A little bit of hit here. I really wanted to get the kill. Flux is up in 2 seconds. I knew that if I cast it on him, he just died. Because it was going to do... Actually, it wouldn't have done that much. I messed up pretty bad, though. I tanked the tower way too much, and with this cold snap, he easily kills me. That was a really embarrassing death. For some reason, I thought that Flux did, like, half of the total damage with 1 skill point, but that's actually Spark Wraith, so I messed that up pretty awfully. You really should not die to an offlane hero like that. It's not acceptable as a carry. So we harassed him very well, but by giving him a kill like that, we really hurt ourselves. If he gets the lift off, he dies. I really didn't think he was going to get the lift, unfortunately. I feel like if I would have anticipated that, then we might have killed him. Either way, though, the flexibility is just so good to have in the early game. It makes a big difference. I'm going to have to restart my computer after this recording, I think. Sorry the FPS is a little low. But here's the slow doing its work. Pretty easy kill. I did not get it, but I got the assist, which is good. Again, my base damage is pretty weak. You could maybe argue I could maybe buy an early laning stage item to get that advantage. Maybe something like a Wraith Band wouldn't be bad. In fact, it would actually be pretty decent to maybe get an Aquila in the early game. Maybe I should be doing that instead. I already buy the Basilius, right? And I'm playing an agility hero, and I actually do have some trouble last hitting. So if I buy a something like a fast Wraith Band, it might help me out a lot in the laning stage. But with that said as well, like then I can't buy the Ring of Protection as early. And the Aquila doesn't really scale nearly as well. It's kind of a slower ramp-up item, but I don't think it's a bad idea to fight early with this hero by any means. I think he's actually decent at fighting by the time he's about level 6. You just have to like know how your abilities work, and you have to be okay at microing them. And if you can do that, then you're going to be alright. Should have hit that twice. Yeah, I only have 3 last hits right now. That's pretty unacceptable for a carry. So please excuse me with that. We're also a ranged hero, so don't quite have as much base damage.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
And then I stop paying attention. I got a little lucky on both of those. I was surprised with that. I'm starting to shift over because I'm trying to see if I can help out with that invoker kill. But in the meantime, I'm also just pushing a lot. He ended up running left, so me shifting over probably wasn't going to be useful, so I decided to go back to lane. And I'm just trying to push this lane as much as I can. By pushing the lane, I know that by the time the Invoker gets back, he's going to get less experience. If the wave's already pushing, I'd rather force it when the Invoker is busy than sit around and wait for like slowly push the lane and focus on last hitting. Because you can push lanes while also last hitting. And now at this point, the whole creep wave is dead. Like, he could have gotten a full level out of that creep wave if he actually did come back to the bot lane. And instead, I got a big advantage out of it. Now, at this stage, usually what happens is you want to buy a boost of speed. You might, like, if you have a really good early game, maybe you can get away with a faster Midas. But the reality is that the Midas isn't really that important until you're level 6. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get the Midas by the time I hit 6. That's pretty clear here. But if you can get it a bit earlier, it's not terrible to do. Invoker picked up an Iron Talon. I'm not quite sure yet if that's good on ranged heroes, especially an Invoker like that. It basically helps offlaners because they can back up and they can farm this large camp on the map. They can go back and do a 40% nuke to it, and then they can just kill it by right-clicking it. But I'm not sold on it. It's 500 gold, it's a Quelling Blade, it's only increasing his damage on creeps by about 11%, so I generally feel like it's a mistake to buy it as a hero like Invoker. So for now, just trying to keep my HP up. See if he uses his ability correctly. Do get mana drained here. But luckily, it's a pretty early level of Wex. This would be a good opportunity to try to kill the Invoker, I believe. I still haven't figured out how to pull on the Radiant side. I'll probably hop into the lobby after this and take a look at it, but I will definitely make a warding video for you guys, like camp blocking and dewarding, and talk about pulling a little bit since the camps are very changed.
Not for you.
It just sucks that if I'm playing in a safe lane position that I'm basically in a 1v1, and this is something that the Rubik made a bit of a mistake on, in my opinion. Just put a nuke on him here because it's going to do a little bit of damage. If I can lower his HP, it gives me a better chance to kill him. But the Rubik definitely should be either zoning the Invoker or allowing me to get free farm, because getting a couple more last hits makes a big difference. I was really surprised how slow my attack speed there was. But my strength is way higher than my agility is. That's pretty clear. Alright, so now I got my ultimate. Now keep in mind the way that this works. Oh wow, we really did see them coming.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
I wasn't watching the map there at all. I didn't see them coming towards the bot lane. Instead, I was focusing on getting last hits, and I did that. I'm standing way too close to the jungle here, and I also shouldn't approach up. This is a big mistake. And as soon as I show on the creep wave, I get ganked. I tried to give myself the evasion aura so that he couldn't right-click me in the meantime. Use the nuke on Invoker here. And I also spawned my ultimate here because it allows me to have 2 right-clicks instead of just 1. I did end up dying, but I think I actually... Oh, I guess I had a mango, huh? I actually could have lived. If I would have mangoed and put the magnetic field on, I wouldn't have died there. I completely forgot that I had a mango, though, when I was playing this. Then the Earthshaker wouldn't have been able to right-click me, and I would have been able to stay alive, so that was a pretty big mistake by me. Also, if I used the mango before I used my ultimate, then my ultimate would have also had mana, and I could use the spells on him. But because I nuked the Invoker first before using my ultimate, then I ran out of mana. But the mana cost is a percentage of your remaining, and the health cost is a percentage of your remaining, so I believe that's the case. 136 is around 30% of my total. We'll see what happens when I cast the spell later, but I'm pretty sure it's of your current.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Maybe I'm wrong about that. No, because it was like 70 or something. I remember it was pretty low. So back into farming here. I used my my ult here because I just wanted to push the lane a little bit faster. Can usually put that nuke on range creeps. As you can see, I'm attacking faster and I'm evading everything. I should be spawning ghosts, and I didn't spawn very many ghosts, but my mana was a bit limited, obviously. So I used it, I lose some HP out of it, I lose some mana, but I farm the wave a little bit faster. So I'm basically very focused on getting a Midas as fast as possible, because if I get a fast Midas, then it's going to accelerate my game a lot. And I knew that by the time I got my Midas, that my ult would be up about again, so I figured I could get away with casting a time there. So basically, by using my ultimate, it costs me 30% of my mana pool, but allows me to use all of my skills basically for free, because it's the mana of my secondary hero, not on my main hero. So I need about 100 gold here, and I've got it. Haven't really been very much help to my team thus far, but really wanted to be careful with that last hit. And summon the second one and use the second one. Okay. All of a sudden I get Midas and boom, I get 380 gold. So
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
This is when I realized that the creeps don't get the evasion. It's only me. And I bought a Basilius to give me some passive mana regen here. And a spawn to ghost.
Dire's
Go
bottom
fly a
tower
little creep
is under
over there.
attack.
I got hit by the tower like 3 times there, which really sucked. HP regen, and you basically need a little bit of HP regen and a little bit of mana regen. And I'm a little bit worried about getting ganked, so I put a ghost on the left side. That way, if people come from the side, I will see them. So if you look on the map, you can actually see that I have a little bit of vision right there. So here's the moment I was like, okay, it obviously doesn't give evasion to my creeps now. And then I read it and it says only heroes, so then I figured things out. TP scroll, I'm waiting about 18 seconds to use my Midas again on my secondary hero. I could shift over and fight, but my mana pool is really low and my HP pool is also quite low. So it's kind of dangerous. But I decided to shift over anyways, because I'm pretty close to this fight. I used both of the nukes on the Dazzle. Fortunately, he went for a TP. Needed to use the Midas on this before it died, otherwise I kind of waste my ultimate. So I sent it over there to prioritize the Midas, and was able to get the Midas off before it died, which is very good. And now I'm kind of in a place where I just need to leave. I've overstayed my welcome, basically. A big mistake here is that I TP'd home instead of passing through the jungle. I should have walked through the jungle and Midas to creep. That would have been the better move there. So I was slightly inefficient, but my GPM should be pretty high now. Yeah, my gold per minute is second highest in the game now. That's basically what the Midas provides you. And, you know, I feel okay with my hero right now. My strength is okay. It's decent at 900. I've got a lot of levels. That's one of the nice things about this hero is that even though your stat gain's bad, by buying a Midas, you're accelerating your levels by quite a bit. And it's completely worth it to buy the Midas, due to the fact that you get extra gold out of it. So I'm just going to sit back here for a little bit, getting ready to Midas again. Again, in the early game, the most important thing is to use Midas. And I'm using the spell and the mana on my secondary, of course, to farm slightly faster. Pretty much whenever I can, just in case I get ganked.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Bought a magic wand here. Not sure if I should buy a magic wand just yet. I feel like it might be a mistake, but... because ultimately, you farm fairly fast and you kind of run out of item slots pretty rapidly. It might be a waste to get it, but... okay, my FPS.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
I'm just going to close all of my extra windows. See if that helps a little bit. Skype helped not at all. If that guy actually messed up really bad. If he knew how that skill works, all he would have to do.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
All he would have had to do was run next to the creep wave. What I probably should have done here, instead of putting the ghost down behind me, I should have just kept running. I mean, he was going to be able to blink and catch up, I think, but what I also could have done was maybe spawn an illusion or spawn my ult and run it to the jungle so that I at least get a Midas out of it.
Dire's middle tower
But it probably wasn't worth it for me to trade like that on the Invoker. I think that was a bit of a mistake. So my first death was really bad, my second death was also avoidable, and my third death now is kind of bad as well. So like playing a little safe on this here in the early game is just really important. Luckily my team, we're pretty close in terms of gold, so me feeding my life away hasn't really hurt us that bad. But if you have a huge gold advantage over your opponent, feeding your life as Arc Warden is a big mistake. But honestly, the biggest mistake of playing Arc Warden is dying at all, because if you're dead, you're not getting Midases. And most of the time that's going to matter. Putting a ghost down just in case the Invoker shows up. I'm just using the secondary one to do that. Let me close more programs. Alright, literally all my programs are closed, so...
Radiant's middle tower
there's a
is
couple
under
programs
attack.
and I have no idea what they are, so I'm going to close them so that things get better, hopefully.
Radiant's middle tower has been denied.
Anything? Nope. Alright, it's PC based. Well, the FPS is good enough where you won't notice a huge amount if you're watching on YouTube. And it's noticeable for me because usually I have like 100 or 120 FPS, but I will not complain about it anymore. Okay, so in a decent spot, pushing the creep wave. I can get a Midas off in 3 seconds. I'm going to put a ghost over here. That way we can spot a tiny if he's thinking about blinking. Using the Midas, all that good stuff. Gonna put some ghosts down because I have the mana. Gonna cast some other spells on him. Because why the heck not? So the hard part with this hero basically is that you have two heroes that you could use at all times, basically.
Radiant's top tower
And if you don't pay attention to that correctly, sometimes your main hero just gets killed. And to be honest, I did that quite a lot this game. Now, we knew that the Tiny had come down here, and things were a little scary for us. I really wanted to go in the jungle because I had my Midas. And I knew that I would be able to... then it got blown up. I knew that I'd be able to get Midas gold out of it. That was a little unfortunate. It was very obvious I had a ward at that point. This guy's juking everything.
Triple kill.
I was coming back, so I said that I was coming. As you can see, pretty easy there. Double Midas being used. So basically it was Invoker by himself. I can hit him with a 300 damage nuke with my first Flux. My second Flux does 300. And I can put a Spark Wraith on top of him, which does up to 250 damage right now. And I got a Midas out of it. So that alone is making the hero pretty strong at this stage of the game. And that's pretty much just ignoring my items. It's basically just my skill points. His skills are, like, Arc Warden skills are pretty bad compared to a regular heroes, but they're not awful. They're just fairly bad, and I haven't really used my second skill very well yet, but this wasn't a very good game to stop to give evasion to my heroes. The only hero that that's really good against in this game is kind of just Dazzle. Tiny doesn't worry about as much because he usually just one-shots everybody, and you can't really react in time, but the first game I played Arc Warden, I was against a Wraith King, and it worked really good against Wraith King because I always knew where he was going to be, so told him where the ward was probably at. Got my ult up so I can go shift and get another Midas going. And now I have the Necro, so this is basically what you do. You spawn your secondary hero, you spawn your Necro, and then you party, basically. And then you use the Necro to farm, is usually what you should be doing.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Everything's good. And then you just kind of push with the Necro, and that's why it's so good. It's like you have a Midas that gives you farm, and now you also have a Necro that farms and gives you items. Necro used to kill jungle camps is really good. You can push lanes with that. I've summoned my other Necro now, my other Necro 1. And this pretty much guarantees we get the tower killed. By the way, I've got a movement speed aura now, basically for the rest of the game, because I'm pretty much always going to have a Necro up. Almost got my ult up again. The farm speed is just crazy. Looks like we're going to fight top. Rather than using it for Midas, instead I decide that we're going to use it to fight.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower.
Unfortunately, I did get drained on my secondary one. Or my Necro 2 recipe. But I didn't get mana drain on my main one, that's good. Blitz almost died here, so I was trying to wrap around to lead him off, but I maybe should have stayed with the team. The fissure blocked him off. I didn't even realize this actually. Don't forget to use the mana burn on the range creep. Unfortunately, my ghost didn't hit him. I would have TP'd right there, but I don't know if it would have worked. They actually ended up smoking me, so now I'm absolutely dead. But I definitely overextended there, and I really didn't need to. That was another really bad death, so I'll accelerate things a bit while I'm dead. Got my Necro 2 up now. Keeping TPs is not bad either. It also works. I can purchase a TP and I can have my my guy teleport to cover. I don't know if you can use regen items. Like maybe I can buy a salve, put it on my spawn guy, and then have it heal me. I feel like if that works, then that's pretty overpowered. I figured that might work for urns. There's so many items and so many ways to theorycraft this hero. Spawn some Necros, we'll push a lane. No threat to my hero.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Now, when people start showing up, that's when you basically have to start being careful. Good. Looks like that range creep ended up killing my Necro now. Just a little bit of micro is pretty important. Tiny's getting kills, which is not the worst thing to happen. I should be Midasing the small creep, not the large one. I should also be spawning the Necro on that before it dies. I don't know if I remembered it or not. There we go. So, Necro 3's up with Midas at about 21 minutes. It's decent. Next item I'm going to buy is the Blink Dagger because it helps you a lot with mobility and you can initiate better. The Blink Dagger isn't just about moving your hero closer, it's also about moving the Necro spawn closer. So it's like I'm giving a Blink Dagger to all those extra things as well. A little worried about the Tiny still being mid, so I'm going to put a Ghost down just to play it safe. Despite being level 11, my damage is still really bad at 65, but that's just kind of what you get used to on this hero. Your damage is low. Again, I could buy an Aquila in the early game. Maybe I could argue for an Aquila instead of a Magic Wand, but I feel like Magic Wand is too good to pass up in most cases. Spawn the Necro 3. I'm looking to see if they have Observer Wards on the right radiant side of the map because it seemed like they did. We were talking about trying to de-ward for them, so I thought running the Necro around would be nice. And that's another thing you could do that's abusable with your ultimate. Just get free Necro spawns and try to find runes and wards and stuff. Fortunately, it wasn't looking very good, so instead I said, you know what, I'd prefer to farm. So I decided to farm instead. Spawn another Necro, that way we can make sure that they don't have an Observer Ward up here to spot me with. Found a Invoker. But for all they know, we're not here. Just showing the Necro, I think, is fun.
Dire's structures are fortified.
A little bit of mana burn on the Necro. I think I should have ran right instead of left. Definitely should have ran right instead of left. But it looks like it's still fine.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Resummoned by units. Putting some ghosts down with my alternate, that way I don't lose mana on my main hero. Just trying to put them in places where people can hide. Most of the time, people don't actually run into my my spirits, I think, but I might be undervaluing. Most likely place for them to come is going to be to our south. So like right there, I feel like I really used the ghosts well. The vision aspect and the damage aspect is not bad to have. Should have used Midas again before I went home, another big mistake. And this is about the area where I start selling my Basilius and usually start getting rid of some of my smaller items. Next item up on the docket is going to be Boots of Travel. You can justify buying Boots of Travel before Blink if you really want to, but considering this game is so dangerous, I should have used that on the big creep because it's my main Midas, but it's very close. Bringing my illusion down. Trying to put the evasion thing down, but unfortunately I got stunned for too long. It's a really nice echo from their Shaker. If I would have put the evasion thing down, I would have lived because he wouldn't have been able to hit me, but he hit me in time. So even with that, we actually had a pretty good fight there. Lost 2 for 3. Technically, I'm the carry, but I also bought the Team of Gem since I farm so stupidly fast. See, my hero is kind of like Alchemist in a way that you need a lot of items to become useful, so you farm really well to compensate for that. So I felt completely comfortable buying a gem for our team because it's going to keep a lot of pressure off of our supports, so that they don't have to sacrifice to do that. So you can definitely be self-sacrificing in that way. I really like using my ultimate as soon as I TP into a lane because I get healed from the remaining Fountain regen, so that's a little trick you can do to help out. And of course I've got Blink Dagger on my alternate one, so I'm just using Blink Dagger and I'm scouting with it. I basically like spawn my second and I play with it as if it's my main hero, and then I can bring out my second hero if needed. So off to split push. Your ghosts have a 50-second cooldown, by the way, so a lot of the time it's not actually used when you put them down, but you might as well put them down anyways because it's free mana. And I'm spawning the Necro. We actually get the tower, which is pretty nice.
Radiant's middle tower.
I should have brought the melee creep over maybe just to check to see if there was anything there.
Dire's bottom tower is
Got my
under
ult again.
attack.
Actually don't know if I Midas or not. I feel like I didn't Midas with that one. That was a bit of a mistake. Necro 3 is also really good because it increases your mana pool a lot. That gave some evasion to him while he was in. He like barely got. You know what I really should have done there that I messed up? I should have ran to the right a little bit, then blinked, then TP. That would have been way better. Or I could have ran to the right a little bit, blinked up to a cliff, and then teleported. That was another really bad death that shouldn't have happened. Died quite a bit in the early game.
Roshan has fallen to the dire.
So off to use Midas. They definitely had pretty good burst heroes though, and that was the hard thing. Tiny's so bursty that it's hard for me to stay alive, and it's magic burst as well. If he had more physical damage, it would be more straightforward, I thought. This fight looked quite over, so I opted to not go. Just put a ghost on in case they try to run left. And back to farming, basically. I should probably be farming with my main hero while I do that.
Is under attack. Radiant structures are
Looks like they're pushing bottom, so I have to go for a mid push.
Radiant's bottom tower.
Now, I think part of the place that people have trouble with this hero is that they go too all in on split push. The Necro 3 split pushing is good, but the problem is that every time your push ends, if the heroes defend against it, then they kill a lot of Necros and they get a lot of gold. So I think that you should not go all in on pushing. Despite the fact that you have Necros and it feels like you're really strong at split pushing, you are strong at split pushing, but you shouldn't go all in on it. This hero should be abused by using cooldowns. You shouldn't necessarily, I don't think it's right to build this hero by getting a lot of damage or stat items. Like buying something like an AC. Okay, if you really need HP, it's good, but isn't it better to build a Shiva's? That way you get the same amount of armor, but you also get 2 actives. Whenever you spawn your secondary hero, you get another Shiva's nuke. Like for example, that's a situationally good item to get, whereas buying an AC is not so good. Maybe sometimes you might need damage, but what's the best way to buff up your damage, for example? Do you buy a Rapier? Do you buy a Daedalus? Do you buy MKB? You have to think that stuff out. I actually thought about this game. Maybe I should buy an Abyssal Blade. Because then I can blink Abyssal, and then I can spawn my secondary, and then I can Abyssal again. Something like that would be really good. I should have put the evasion or AoE on the Sand King there. That's a big mistake. There was a very small chance the sniper would have killed him, but to prevent all damage that he did would have been really useful. Well, it's not all damage, because... Wait, does Headshot not dodge evasion anymore? I can't remember if they changed that. I feel like that's still in the game, but I might be wrong. Alright, Boots of Travel are up now, so now I can teleport to any creep. Again, I should be Midasing the small creeps, not the big ones. Putting a ghost down just in case. That would be the spell that I literally never use. It's definitely the spell that I use the least, but I also don't think I use the ghost enough either. I should be setting up ghosts right now. And I also shouldn't be walking next to the creep wave, probably. It's kind of dangerous. I'm gonna spawn my actual Necro. You have to be a little bit more careful with how you use your hero's items, because they feel like they're on much longer cooldowns. So we saw a lot of them on the bottom half of the map. At some stage I'm going to have to run my Necros away, or they will feed. Maybe I didn't need to TP all the way back to base. My mana pool is a little bit low. Okay, so now it's basically the stage where you say, what's the next item that I buy? All the items that I currently own, you should pretty much buy every single game that you play Arc Warden. Pretty much every game. I can buy... I don't think Manta is good this game because they don't have any silences or slows.
Radiant's courier has been killed.
You can buy upgrade Boots of Travel, which I think I ended up doing here because I wanted to gank the bot lane. This is using my secondary illusion, by the way. I don't know why I'm not using my spells. I ended up feeding 2 Necros there, which was a mistake, but I don't think it was helpful what I did. I should have maybe waited for Sand King to go in though, because we might if it might have cost him his life, but we would have killed the sniper for sure. Burst Strike, Epicenter, and my illusion, or my secondary hero doing a blink Necro 3 slow would have been good, I think. Now I'm definitely coming. My orb there was not well placed. That I was trying to cast my third spell, I think, and I pressed the wrong hotkey. But you see how useful it is to have a blink dagger on this hero? It basically turns you into being able to gank anywhere kind of hero. I'm just sending this over here to use Midas and maybe push out the lane. So, and I did that all while still staying where I am. I didn't actually have to go and I didn't actually have to put myself in danger to do this just now. A large camp wasn't there for some reason.
Yes.
This looks kind of dangerous. There is an Earthshaker ahead of me, so I decided to TP out. Okay, so now the item I'm looking at is basically Hex. We're lacking Disable a little bit. If I have a Blink Dagger, then I can basically do a Blink Hex twice in a row, which gives me up to 7 seconds of Disable. Now, Hex movement speed is not everything. Like, people still can run pretty fast with that item build, but the Disable is very good to have, because you can disable a lot of important heroes. This was really unfortunate. There wasn't a camp, so I was scared that I wasn't going to get to use my Midas. So I TP'd at top to guarantee that. So it looks like they're pushing bottom. Maybe I shouldn't use my ultimate there. I got Midas out of it, obviously, but it looks like they're pushing bottom, so it's kind of important that I'm there. I am almost 16 as well, though. Once I hit 16, then every time I use my ult, it actually doesn't lower my HP.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
Unfortunately, we're a little bit too far away. If I was set up there, for example, we could have caught him, I think. This is kind of how you should do it every time that you spawn these. You should be summoning double ghosts every 4 seconds.
What have we here?
Back to heal. Yeah, I think Hex is one of the better items you can get on this hero, really. My damage, personally, is not very good, but my damage is still very good because of the fact that I've got Flux and Spark Wraiths and Necro 3s. A lot of your damage is coming from your Necro 3s. I don't think you have to buy damage items for this hero to be good. It's kind of like playing Winter Wyvern like a carry. It's cheesy, kind of, and it works, and you can do it, but it's not a good idea, I don't think. Your stats are a little bit too weak, and a Necro 3, for example, it actually doesn't increase your damage because Necro gives you strength and int, and you don't need those items or those stats to increase your damage when you're an agility hero. Something like Scotty makes sense because you're giving yourself damage and things like that. E-Blade makes sense because you're giving yourself damage, attack speed, and nuke potential on 2 heroes. If you want to buy a hybrid damage item, E-Blade is a decent way to go, for example. Spawn my Necro to see if we can find some D-Ward, I think. For some reason I didn't cast my ability in time.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Just teleporting there with my alternate. Fortunately, I wasn't watching my main hero. You know what I really messed up on there is that he was actually just right-clicking me. If I just casted my second spell on me, he wouldn't be able to hit me. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get the ward. Nope! Got wrecked.
Well-gotten gain.
So, poor micro there leads to me dying. We did get the tiny, though. That's why Boots of Traveler is so good, and the upgraded ones as well. Anywhere there's a fight, as long as you have your ulti off cooldown, you can always go. It doesn't matter if your hero's off cooldown or not. And the hero that you spawn is still pretty solid. Like, you've got decent nukes, you have some slows, you have a Necro 3, so you're always going to be able to counter a Riki, for example. You can always see the Riki no matter where you are, pretty much. It's really strong. That's his Burrow Strike range, by the way, with eggs and that new item. I thought that he just dies to sniper here, but for some reason he changed targets. Oh, Earthshaker missed his ulti. This is me showing up.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Triple kill.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
Somebody said there was a ward there, so I sent my Necros back. But it was just the neutrals. Alright, almost got Hex. I left that melee Necro 3 behind to see if they were walking past. And now I just want to put Spirits on the high ground where they might stand. Should have used the mana burn here on the Roshan. This is actually a scary fight. It does hit invisible people, by the way, the aura thing. I TP'd back so that I could get my hex, but this maybe is a mistake. When you're playing this here, by the way, it's really important that you have 5 or 6 item hotkeys, so otherwise you won't be able to do it correctly.
Roshan has fallen to the dark.
Now they did get Roche, but I don't think we were too worried about that. I think spawning this ult was a big mistake. It ended up being a loss of a kill here. Because at this stage now, every time I use my ult, it's not just about Midas. I'm also worrying about a Hex. And that's when things start getting kind of tough. Then we saw Tiny bottom, and I was like, oh man. Should have used my second skill. I didn't. If I would use my second skill, I would have lived 100%. I really don't use it enough, honestly. It's a big mistake. Ended up being a good fight for us. But if I used either my second skill, like I should just use my second skill more honestly. I'm a little bit overwhelmed already with the skills that I have. Blink, Necro 3, Flux, what's it called? Flux, put a Spark Wraith down, and Hex. And then I'm also supposed to remember to use Magnetic Field. Like, it's so difficult to remember all these hotkeys and spells. But if you play the hero more and more, you'll get better at him. So he's definitely really fun to play right now. I just like the idea that I have 2 heroes, basically. That I can spawn one, and I can go ham at that hero and forget about my main hero for a little bit just because he's on cooldown. Because he doesn't have cooldowns on things like Blink and stuff. That was a really nice engagement here. Now, my HP is really bad, so I have to sit really far back.
That should help.
Man, their side range is so good. Oh, this is really dangerous. I didn't have TP for 2. But I showed on creeps. I also fed those Necros, that was bad, but that's better than dying, honestly, at this stage. So, I was thinking about making Shivas here, but then I decided to go BKB instead, because I wanted to see if the BKB works on my secondary guy. And it does end up working like that, I confirmed it later, but... Also, they just have a lot of magic damage. What that fight very clearly showed was... They just do tons of damage from a magic standpoint, whether it be in the Earthshaker or the Invoker. And I was thinking maybe even I should go for something like... I could build something like Pipe, maybe. It doesn't really work technically because the items won't stack if I use them twice in a row. I was trying to kill the melee one here because I thought that they were gonna... And then I canceled it. Oh, I felt bad about that. I was like, damn, I just gave Tiny 400 gold. Such a big mistake. But some kind of magic resistance item or survivability item was clearly what I needed, and I thought getting a Shivas wouldn't really help me that much against a Tiny. He would just kind of combo me anyways and do 1,000 of my HP. Unfortunately, I TP top, and then they started going bottom. So at this point, I was said, oh shit, I should go back. And then Blitz said, no, just push if you're up there. So I'll just split push until 20 seconds, and then I can go back for the fight. I didn't necessarily want to use my ultimate here, even if it could spawn another Necro 3, because I wanted to use second Hex in a fight. So you have to be a little choicey how you use your spawns later. So rather than wait 3 seconds for it to come back, I spawned my illusion and then TP back with it.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
I didn't micro this very well at all. I'm also not bringing my hero. now the next nice part is that now I have my secondary hero. I get to use my other nuke. I should be microing this a bit better. I did the double hexes far superior in the first game that I played. Don't remember why I was smoked here. Because we had 3 dead heroes and I'm setting up for a rush. No, rush is gone, I think. I think I'm looking for kills. So I have double hex in 3 seconds. If I find anybody, we can kill them. I'm curious to see where he went. We didn't end up getting him.
Money to burn.
Oh, he actually just ran back. Okay. We were hoping to set up on him, but it makes sense that he didn't actually stick around. Just checking to see if they have any wards in the area. We wanted to go for a push there, but unfortunately we chased the tiny around the map and we didn't find him, so we kind of wasted a lot of our time. That was a pretty large mistake, I think. If we killed the tiny, it's obviously amazing, but if we don't kill the tiny, it's really bad. So we spend all of our time chasing him around. Queuing up the BKB. I should really be casting like a shitload of ghosts, like just so many ghosts. Now that I have Hex here, my mana regen is actually really good. I could justify just casting it very often. Like this, like just casting a shitload of ghosts. Like if they smoke or something and they have to run into that, I could like do a massive amount of damage to somebody just to start the fight. I don't think I'm getting nearly enough value from my second and third skills yet. I'm getting most of my value from my items. And I think that's a decent way to play him, but I could be playing him better. Playing this here just makes me want to play him all the time. It's one of those. And I thought I might as well drag him into something. So, I should use Midas the other creep. But oh well. Rehexed, and there you go. Really easy kill. That gank felt really good to me, because I basically got 2 fast hexes. The blink dagger was very clearly useful. And that pickoff is pretty big. Having the upgraded BOTs of the Blink Dagger is so dangerous for an enemy team, because there's just always that threat that you can show up and turn a fight around. Maybe took a little bit too much damage there, but... This stage I kind of felt like I needed a big HP regen item. Like what I had wasn't really good enough. Just gonna keep putting ghosts down.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
Exit Shaker here. Luckily the Echo didn't catch me, but I was sitting far enough back where it seemed like I was going to be okay with that.
Middle barracks has fallen.
Midas and TP is the goal here. Should have sent that back a lot earlier. Alright, got the BKB.
Dazzle.
Net worth's pretty high. Experience is high. My KDA is okay. Could definitely be better. My GPM is pretty high. I think I micro this hero well, but I just need to really limit my early game sense mistakes. And I need to use some of my skills better. I'm not leveraging my abilities well enough. Just wanted to check for some wards and stuff. What if an item like SNY would be bad? I feel like it'd be pretty good on this hero. Doesn't give you an active though, but you could main with 2 different heroes. And you'd also get the advantage of the agility. The agility would be nice, the movement speed wouldn't be bad. But I think Blink is too good to pass up, honestly. I think this is the best way to play the hero at the moment that I know of. Necro you have to get. Blink Dagger is so good with Boots of Travel. I tried BKBing here, and then I checked to see if it was the same cooldown on my hero, and it was, so it does actually work. So you can basically just BKB whenever you want on your guy. You could maybe argue that I should get a BK or a Dagon after the Hex, but I just really feel like your damage is good enough on this hero. You don't need to go Dagon to go cheesy route. Mobility is more important. Fed a Necro pair there. Use my BKB. I forgot about my second hero for a little bit there, but I think I played that fight pretty well. Once I pop BKB, I can just right click. Damage isn't amazing, but it's pretty good. I also stopped the Earthshaker chain initiation.
All knowledge is parallel.
I was a little bit late on my Midas there.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Fortunately, I got fissured, so I wasn't able to spawn or use the Midas.
Has fallen. Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower has fallen. Dire's ancient is under attack. Radiant victory.
All right, so that's Arc Warden, man. Blink Dagger, Necro 3, well, Midas, Necro 3, Blink Dagger, Boots of Travel, and then you build whatever items you want. But those first like 3 or 4 items, I don't think you can argue for anything else. I think they're too good to pass up. Maybe you can argue for like a Force Staff in there as well, but your hero farms so fast that I feel like you should get just really big ticket items like Hexes, Shiva's Guards, Dagons, E-Blades. All that stuff works out very nicely, so... Hope you enjoyed Arc Warden. Obviously I could play the Dota game better, but I think I played Arc Warden, the hero, pretty well, and I feel good about that. Keep in mind that tomorrow I'm leaving to go to Wisconsin, so I'm going to try to make you guys a lot of videos today, and maybe a few in the morning tomorrow. That way you guys have stuff to watch in the new patch from me, but unfortunately I've been planning this trip for like 2 months or something like that, maybe 3 months. Actually, I've kind of been planning it all year in some ways, but... so I won't be able to stream at the very least, and might not make too many videos while I'm there. I might save the warding video until I get there, because I can definitely do it on a laptop, but I'm not sure. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. That's Arc Warden. See you later. Bye.